Development Partners. Who are Malawi's development partners and what are they doing? To know more, tune into Malawi's Development Partners MDP with me, Kathy Matura, on Luntha TV.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom into your home. Welcome to Share World University. Enroll with us. We are accredited by the National Council of Higher Education in Che, and we offer undergraduate and postgraduate programs at an affordable cost. Entry requirements for undergraduate degrees are MSCE or IGSCE with 6 credits including mathematics and English, and for postgraduate, entry requirements include a bachelor's degree in a relevant field of work. We also offer professional diploma courses for ABMA, ABE, and ICAM, including the bridging course for those with 4 to 5 credits. The requirement for diploma courses is an MSCE. For inquiries, please call 0994 530 245, 0993 723 578, 0999 262 467, and 0881 843 414, or email us at registrar@shareworlduniversity.ac.mw or info@shareworlduniversity.ac.mw. Enroll with us today at Share World University. Sharing with others, culturally correct.
Luntha TV is now on Zuku Channel 51. You can get yourself a Zuku decoder from the Luntha TV offices in Area 2, Lilongwe, and from all the St. Manford bookshops across the country in Kasungu, Lilongwe, Salima, Dedza, Balaka, Zomba, Mulanje, Blantyre, Chikwawa, Mwanza, and Mangochi. For more information, contact 0883 815 055 or 0996 892 965. Get a Zuku decoder today and not miss daily mass, worship and prayers, news bulletins, and so much more on Luntha TV, bringing wisdom into your home.
The key to growth and development for every nation in the world is a better plan. Not just any plan, but a well-implemented one, and of course, development partners. Who are Malawi's development partners and what are they doing? To know more, tune into Malawi's Development Partners MDP with me, Kathy Matura, on Luntha TV.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom into your home.
A warm welcome, dear viewers, to yet another episode of Malawi's Development Partners, and you are with me, your host, Kathy Matura. Today at our studios, we are privileged to host the United Nations Development Program Malawi, UNDP Malawi's resident representative, FENELLA Frost. Welcome, Ms. Frost.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you very much. Dear viewers, as you might be aware, Malawi's Development Partners Program is a program that brings in various stakeholders that are instrumental in pushing Malawi's development agenda towards the attainment of the Malawi Vision 2063. We dive right into the program. Fenella, can you tell us, when did the UNDP Malawi open their doors in Malawi?
So, Kathy, first of all, just to say a huge thanks to you and also to all your viewers for taking this time to learn a little bit more about the United Nations Development Programme's work here in Malawi. We're really privileged to be part of the Malawi Development Initiative since independence. So we've actually been here since 1964.
Wow.
And I myself arrived almost a year ago, and I'm here with my son, and it's a huge pleasure to be here in Malawi, in this wonderful country.
And how are you liking Malawi?
I absolutely love Malawi. Unfortunately, my chichewa is not quite there yet, but it's a very exciting country to work in. I get to work with very inspiring people, and most importantly, I think the work we're doing here together with the government and the population is extremely inspiring.
Okay, Fenella, as I was introducing the program, I just did mention that this program brings in various stakeholders who are instrumental in pushing the Malawi Vision 2063 goal. And can you share with our viewers what exactly and in which areas are you as the UNDP involved in this aspect of the development agenda in Malawi?
Thanks, Kathy. So the first important thing to say is that in every country UNDP works in, our first priority is to work towards the country's own development vision. So obviously here in Malawi it's the Vision 2063. So if you like, that's always how we align our work. Of course, the overall priorities that are set by the United Nations and its member states through the Sustainable Development Goals, and I know we'll have a chance, I'm sure, to talk about that in a little while. But so the Malawi Vision 2063 is also our prioritisation. Within that, UNDP works in two main areas. The first is in governance, so that's sustainable governance from supporting the elections through to work on anti-corruption, through to work on rule of law, so a broad range of areas. And the other key area is to do with resilience and sustainable growth. So resilience, obviously, to climate change, which I know is a key challenge here in Malawi, like in many countries, and then sustainable growth to do with economic development. So those are the two broad pillars we're working against, but all of that is in support of the Malawi Vision 2063.
Thank you very much. So, I don't know if I'm not taking you back, but you did touch on that about the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. You, as a UN agency that is in Malawi, which SDGs are you there to push forward?
So, as the name UNDP, United Nations Development Programme, suggests, we really work across the Sustainable Development Goals. And we view development challenges, complex development challenges, as issues that need to have a comprehensive approach. So maybe I can just give you a couple of examples. One of the things we're really looking at is how to address cross-cutting challenges with cross-cutting solutions. So, for example, one of the key priorities here in Malawi is around gender equality. We know that women, without their full inclusion in development, we will never have sustainable development. So gender equality, strategic innovation, another critical cross-cutting area. It's not just about one SDG, it cuts across them all. Digitization, another key example, and I know a key priority for government. So those are just a couple of examples, and obviously happy to share more.
Would you mind sharing with our viewers, of course,
I really can stand by this. Every Malawian knows about UNDP, but specifically to the gender equality issue, do you have any specific project and partners that you can probably mention that our viewers at home would identify with?
Yeah, so we were really excited, first of all, to say, I mean, gender is really a cross-cutting area of our work. So I'll give you a concrete example. We've been working for a very long time on working with the private sector, and that means small and medium-sized Malawian companies. And I'm extremely excited that in our work with the private sector, when we're working with new companies, about 50% of those companies are female-headed companies.
Wow.
Another example that we've been working on for some time, together with other UN agencies like UNFPA and UN Women, is the whole area around gender-based violence. And there, we've been working as UNDP on challenging issues which we know face many Malawian women. For example, issues around maybe cultural practices that hold back women from taking a full role in development. So an example of that is obviously child marriage. As you know, Kathy, in Malawi, according to some estimates, between 30 and 40% of Malawian girls are married under the age of 18. Mm-hmm. And why is that a problem? It's a problem because those girls, first of all, are taken out of school early, but they also don't have an opportunity to have their full potential shown. So, we've been working together with other UN agencies and Malawian civil society to see how we can support the rights of those girls, but also when women and men end up in situations of violence, how we can protect their rights. So, one of the key areas that UNDP is working on that in is to do with the Malawi Human Rights Commission, a very dynamic organisation, which, as you know, has some very strong Malawian women at their head, but also with the justice sector. So we're very proud to work with the Malawian Chief Justice. And
just to cut you short, FENELLA, looking at 2025, we have elections coming in.
That's right.
And there's been the 50-50 campaign.
That's right.
Would you want to share something in that regard as you are in support of gender equality? Because I believe for us to have policies that reach out to women, that touch out on women's rights and propel them out there, we have to have women in decision-making points, starting with the August House. So what are you doing in that area?
Well, I think the first thing to say is to acknowledge actually the amazing progress that Malawi has made. If you look at government, some of your most dynamic ministers are actually women. So, you look at the Minister of Gender, you look at the Minister of Education, just to name a couple. Mm-hmm. Those are very strong, dynamic women. Also, if you look at the legislature, obviously the second most important woman in this country is the head of Parliament. Again, a very, very dynamic, active woman. So I think, the first thing to say is that actually Malawi has had some amazing progress on gender equality. But that said, as you've acknowledged, Kathy, there is more to do, and we're very proud to work with UN Women in the parliamentary process, but also to work closely with the political parties. So, as you know, there's the Centre for Multi-Party Democracy, which is an institution that UNDP has worked with since its creation. The Centre of Multi-Party Democracy brings together all the political parties to try and address common issues. And I was very excited in a recent meeting with them when they expressed their interest in working to see how the political parties can select more female representatives. But I think, the message also goes to the Malawian population, because often political parties, not just in Malawi, but in a lot of countries, feel that selecting women candidates will make them less likely to win seats. And so I think it's very important that Malawian citizens, who ultimately are going to vote for those candidates, also ask for more women representation, but then that women out there who see that they might have an interest in politics also put themselves forward. But just a couple of examples.
All right, thank you so much, FENELLA. I was going to ask you to share with us maybe one of your success stories, but you would love to do that. Go ahead.
I would love to do that, Kathy. I mean, just to say, first of all, that I am so proud to work for UNDP, and any of the successes of UNDP are, of course, not thanks to me, because I've only been here for 9 months, but thanks to the very close partnerships we have with government, but also with Malawian institutions. And maybe I could just give one example, Kathy. We've been working for some time on the question of energy. As you may know, Kathy, Malawi has one of the lowest energy accesses, particularly in rural areas. The estimates are between 4 and 5% of rural Malawians have access to energy. Why is that a problem? It's a problem because kids can't work. We know it gets dark at this time of year around 5:30, so kids can't study. It means that small businesses can't flourish. So I was very excited, just to give a very specific example, a couple of months ago when my boss, the Regional Bureau Director for Africa, came here, and we were able to go to Sitolo village, which is in Chinji district, and we were able to see the transformational impact that setting up what's called a mini-grid, which is electricity through solar, the transformational impact that had on a community. So that directly impacted on about 800 households. As a result, we were able to see, first of all, about in the schools in Sitolo, we were able to see that the pass rates for the schools went up by 40%. So that meant, half the children there were able to succeed, half more were able to succeed in their education, and that's because they are able to study at night. And we had a very powerful testimony from a young girl there who really described the impact it had had on her own education. But other ways that it really impacted on the community, we met a very dynamic woman who had a hairdressing and salon and beauty parlour. Okay. And we asked her before electricity came to the village, what was she doing? And she said, I wasn't doing anything, I was sitting at home. Okay. And thanks to electricity coming to the village, she was able to set up a new business, she was able to employ people. So I think that's just, in one village and the broader community, you can see that access to electricity has a transformational impact on that community, and we hope that those children who are now able to pass school will go on to be the future politicians that you talked about, or future small business leaders.
Okay, that is very, 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 very true, because I also have been to the north. The UNDP is funding another mini-grid.
That's right.
It's by Coldred Kasangazi. And
yes.
There's similar stories of grinding mills
exactly.
and everything. So I really agree with you. Energy, without energy, we can't talk of any development. And
exactly.
It's just the rightful thing that you are doing that as the UNDP. And we commend you for that. And moving on to, maybe let me take you back. You have mentioned the issue of gender-based violence.
Yeah.
You've mentioned the issue of early marriages. Yeah. If you really look deep into it, these are some of deeply ingrained cultural practices.
Yeah.
How do you, as the UNDP, when you're implementing projects, when you're partnering with local communities, how do you ensure that the programs that you're bringing in are culturally correct? Because there have been accusations that you see these international organizations, they come and impose, things on us. I just wanted you to share with the viewers to dispel all those myths, to say, no, you as the UNDP are always on the right side and you do these things procedurally.
Well, thanks, Kathy, for that really important question. I mean, I think the first thing to say is I am incredibly proud to head a team that is majority made up of Malawians. Yes, it's true, I'm new to your country, but the majority of UNDP staff are Malawians, and we think that's a very important first step. So although UNDP is viewed as an international organisation, we're also very much a Malawian organisation. And as I mentioned to you before, Kathy, we've been here since independence, so we have a very long-standing track record, and we're of course here on the invitation of the government, but we're also here, as I mentioned before, in support of the government's own strategy. Beyond that, every project that we design here in the country is agreed with the national authorities, but it's also designed with the communities. So those are just a couple of ways in which we hope that our programming is culturally and locally appropriate. But what I would say is, Kathy, the reality is Every project has to be constantly reviewed, re-evaluated, and also our strategic approach needs to be reviewed and re-evaluated, because Malawi is a dynamic country.
That's very true.
It's not just one country. When we talk about Malawians, every Malawian man, woman and child is a different person. Every community has its own dynamics, and so what we're constantly doing is evaluating, reassessing our work to make sure it has the impact, and most of all, Kathy, as they say in the UN, leaves no one behind. What does that mean? It means we're not just working, we're in a long way, you and I today, but we are really trying to implement programming that can help every Malawian, wherever they're based across the country, in the north, south, here in the long way, to achieve their full potential.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that elaboration, and I'm sure viewers at home have also learned one or two things regarding that issue, because it is really a burning issue out there.
Sure.
And before we go out for the break, we are talking of UNDP in Malawi. And when we talk about Malawi, we cannot talk about Malawi without mentioning the youth.
Yeah.
We cannot talk about Malawi mentioning the issues that affect the youth, especially employment.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the youth, we are talking about the future of Malawi. And we cannot talk about the future of Malawi without the environment. Deforestation is a very, very, very burning issue in Malawi. If you see how people burn charcoal, we have these natural disasters. It is all against the backdrop of deforestation. How are you, as the UNDP, making sure that you do align your strategies to address these challenges?
Yeah. So first of all, UNDP, together with our sister agencies, believes powerfully that youth is the future of this country. And as you know, the African Union, in its vision of the Africa we want, really puts youth at the centre of that. And so, we're very proud here in Malawi to have supported youth in a variety of ways. Maybe I can just give two examples. One is one of our real focuses here in Malawi is on innovation. We believe there are brilliant ideas out there across the country, and Malawian youth, I'm not so young anymore, but I know that young people are where innovation's at. So we're very proud to have partnerships across Malawi with different universities. And one example, recently I had the enormous pleasure to accompany the head of state and my boss, the regional director for Africa, to launch a university innovation pod at Mombasa University in Blantyre. The idea behind that is to help to provide the most cutting-edge equipment possible so that Malawian innovative ideas can actually be tested and brought to market. So that's an example of how we're using innovation. We're also working very closely with the private sector, developing small and medium-sized Malawian companies. And many of those loans are given to young Malawians. And that's not just about giving money to companies, but it's also building their capacity so that they can spend that money and grow their businesses. So those are maybe two examples on youth. And just if I can say from a personal point of view, Kathy, I feel we need to do much more to be really intentional on targeting youth, and very excited about that. And maybe I can also just mention, you talked about the elections earlier. I think one of our key priorities in the electoral project that I have the pleasure to support is to really see how young Malawians can be involved in the electoral process. And really my message to young people is go out and vote. You have the power to elect the new government and hold all governments to account. And I was very honoured to be invited by the head of state to a youth dialogue at State House on Friday, and it was truly inspiring to hear how many brilliant young Malawians have wonderful ideas about their future, and the message that the President said, which would be a message I would echo, which is, of course, the state and international organisations like UNDP will play a role, but this is a country with many challenges, and so what's important is also that young Malawians out there don't just wait for a UNDP project or for the government to come with a solution, that young Malawians also come up with their own solutions. And we just hope as UNDP, together with government, that we can provide some ways to bring them up and bring their ideas to fruition. So that's on youth. You also mentioned deforestation. As you said, I mean, Malawi, tragically, is one of the is the country in Southern Africa that has the highest rate of deforestation. So we're working on deforestation in a number of ways. Just to give one example, as you know, the majority of Malawians are cooking using what's called biomass, that is to say charcoal or wood. And we're working with small companies, but also with the Ministry of Natural Resources to help combat biomass and try and get Malawians cooking with other sources of energy. So those are just two examples. But to say, Kathy, as I said earlier, we're also looking at how do these areas intersect and how can you help Malawians, young Malawians, to be the primary defender of forests in the country. So we've been working with what's called an initiative called Green Core, where we're actually working to help young Malawians go out there and to defend their forests. So those are just a couple of examples illustrating how we're very excited to work with young Malawians to tackle some of those challenges that you're facing.
I'm sorry, FENELLA, I have to cut you short so that we can take a short breather. Viewers, don't go away. We have more that FENELLA has to share with us regarding the youth that could be of benefits to you or your neighbor or your friend. Don't go away. You're watching Malawi's Development Partners program. We'll be right back.
The key to growth and development for every nation in the world is a better plan. Not just any plan, but a well-implemented one. And of course, development partners. Who are Malawi's development partners and what are they doing? To know more, tune into Malawi's Development Partners MDP with me, Kathy Matura, on Luntha TV.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom into your home.
Welcome back, dear viewers. You are still watching Malawi's Development Partners program, a program where we bring in various stakeholders who are instrumental in pushing the development agenda for our country, Malawi. Today in our studios, we are privileged to host the UNDP Malawi resident representative, Ms. FENELLA Frost. FENELLA, welcome back.
Thank you.
And before we went for the break, we were just talking about the youth and the projects and programs that you're involved in. And of particular reference that I mentioned to the viewers that we're going to touch on is the program of Zanchito.
Yes.
Can you share more on that one with our viewers?
Sure. So Kathy, as I mentioned before, UNDP has a very proud engagement on supporting private sector growth, and that's primarily focused on small and medium-sized enterprises. And we have those programs thanks to a range of partnerships with different donors across the country. And Zanchito is a great example of that work with the private sector. It's a very important program supported by the European Union. And UNDP Malawi is thrilled to be one of the partners of that program. What it really tries to do is to support idea stage entrepreneurs. So we know that for businesses to access finance here in Malawi, particularly idea stage, it's quite challenging because accessing financial products, particularly when you don't have a proven track record, is difficult. So what we're thrilled to do with the EU is to support those incubation stage. So it's really targeted at young people. The idea is that when young people have a great business idea, they can be partnered with what's called a business incubator. That's a advisory service that can help them to develop a business plan, can help them to flesh out their idea to see what would be a business model that would actually stick. And then it comes in with a grant to help the business to get off the ground. That's a program that's spread across the country. There's incubators in many different regions. I was thrilled to go and see one of the incubators in Balaka recently. And there I was able to meet with a range of young business owners. I think what's really exciting about this Zanchito program is it isn't only targeted at small businesses of people who've maybe got advanced, schooling. It really is looking at any Malawian business owner or young idea stage entrepreneur that wants to create a business. So that's a concrete example, and we're thrilled to work on that with young Malawian.
That's very encouraging to hear. Dear viewers, as you can hear from herself, FENELLA, the resident representative of UNDP Malawi, there are opportunities out there not to only work with those who have been to universities, to polytechnics or technical college, but youth who just have a basic idea on how to run a business. It's an opportunity that's out there that's the UNDP is bringing to the youth in Malawi, and we really commend the UNDP in doing that, because it is one way of indeed fighting unemployment, because I'm sure these businesses, they also get to employ their fellow youth.
Absolutely, and we're really thrilled to work with the EU on this project, and I think what it really shows is, as you've said, Kathy, yes, of course, some people out there will become employees, but we know there's also some really great business ideas out there, and so we're thrilled to contribute to supporting those.
Thank you very much, FENELLA, for that. And coming back to your organization, you are United Nations Development Program in Malawi, and at the center of UN agencies, we know what you are there for is to make sure that member countries attain laid down SDGs.
Yes.
I think for the pleasure of the viewers at home, I don't know whether it's going to be a pleasure or a shock, would you mind sharing of all the SDGs? There must be 17, I'm right?
Yeah.
Yes. Is there any particular SDG that Malawi as a country is doing extremely well, if at all?
Well, I think actually, it's very exciting. Of course, Malawi has its challenges, but thanks to the leadership of government, you have actually made huge progress on specific SDGs. And a concrete example is on SDG 16.9, which is around access to identity. What does that mean in concrete terms? It means that in partnership with UNDP, the government has managed to register over 11 million Malawians in recent years. And that means that those citizens have access to their identity. It's going to be a critical piece in the process of the elections, because as you know now, all Malawians have to have their national ID to then be able to register for the elections. So if you don't have a national ID, go out and register. Okay. But also it's important not just because the individual citizen is able to prove they're a Malawian, but it's also important because of the cost savings it can bring. Do you know, Kathy, that since this work was undertaken, we're able to estimate that the government has saved about $42 million US dollars. That's $42 million US dollars that can be used to better deliver services to the population. And we also estimate that if this ID goes through to be an electronic ID, it can save a further almost 200 million US dollars. So that really shows how having one ID, not multiple IDs for multiple services, with one ID, the government can save huge money, but most importantly, the citizens can access their rights. So that's just an example of one SDG where the Malawian government has made huge progress, and massive congratulations to you, Malawi, for that important achievement.
A great achievement indeed, dear viewers. FENELLA, throughout our discussion, what I've picked is that the UNDP does work closely with the civil society as well as the private sector. And as we are going towards wrapping up this program, do you have a specific call to action to these two institutions, like these organizations, that you would want to send out to them regarding the partnership with UNDP?
Well, listen, I think the first message to both civil society and the private sector is we know it's not always easy doing business in Malawi, and that's why we're very proud to work with the government on the enabling environment. Just to give you one concrete example, Kathy, we know there's a tendency in the current climate to always import a lot of goods, and that's not easy right now because we know with the Forex challenges in the country and the devaluation. So that's one of the reasons why UNDP has been incredibly proud to support the Buy Malawi campaign. We're one of the founding supporters of the Buy Malawi campaign. And so I guess my message to the private sector, but also to you Malawian citizens out there, is look for that Buy Malawi logo, because it's by buying Malawi that we can, as individual consumers, help to invest in the Malawian economy. And then beyond that to civil society, but also to the Malawian population. I think, the message I'd give is, sometimes when we look at the statistics globally, we see that, Malawi has a lot of challenges, but my message is one of hope. I'm just incredibly inspired, Kathy, to work every day with many wonderful Malawians, whether it's Malawians working in UNDP, working with government, but also Malawians in the communities and in civil society and, of course, in the private sector. So I guess my message to Malawians out there is have faith in yourselves, invest your time in your development, your money in your development, because we know that sustainable development financing is reducing. So the key question is how to help mobilise greater Malawian engagement in the development path of this country. But my main message is one of hope. I'm incredibly inspired to work here. It's a great privilege to work here on behalf of my organisation, together with the rest of the UN family, but most importantly with all the brilliant Malawians out. We're here to support the government, and so I think the first key priority is government leadership. And I think that, we know that's not always easy for government. I mean, at the end of the day, every government has many challenges to tackle, but we very strongly believe in government leadership and a close dialogue with government. And we're very privileged, as I mentioned earlier, to have been invited by the government of Malawi on independence, but to continue to be asked by the government of Malawi to serve alongside government and in support of government. But I think the second important area I wanted to mention is about financing, development financing, because I think traditionally Malawi has always been seen as a country that's been quite reliant on development assistance. And I think a key priority for us in UNDP, together with the government, is how to explore new opportunities for development finance. And that's why I'm very proud that I'm signing a new project with the Ministry of Finance, which has a main focus on new sources of development finance. What does that mean? That means, what are the sources of nationally grown finance, whether it's the private sector or it's government finance? But also, how can Malawi tackle and access new and innovative sources of finance internationally? So, for example, a critical area is around green finance. As you know, the carbon market is something I know that the Minister of Finance recently spoke about in his statement to Parliament at the start of the year. And so we're working very closely with government on that. So one of the ways is accessing new development finance, but the other is how to better spend the existing funds, because as we know, it's not just about raising the money, it's about how do you spend that money that targets the population in a more targeted and meaningful way. And so, we're very proud again to work with government on a whole range of measures to strengthen accountability and also to better deliver services. So that would just be a snapshot. But I think my key message is we are only here to support the leadership is the government of Malawi, and we're very proud to have worked with the government of Malawi since independence.
Thank you very much, FENELLA. That was a specific message to the government and the leaders in government. And now, before we close the program, any specific messages to the viewers at home?
Just, I'm incredibly proud to have been here. We've talked a lot about civil society, we've talked about the private sector, we've talked about the government, but maybe one stakeholder we haven't talked about is the media. And Kathy, you together with Luntha TV and other key actors in the media have a critical role to play, and I'm excited to have had this opportunity. But also I would really call upon the media to really work closely with the population as we run up to the elections. I think the role of the media in making sure that Malawi has an inclusive elections, but also a peaceful elections is really critical. And so, thank you for your work, Kathy. Thank you to all the viewers out there for having taken the time to listen to me. Really just to say I'm hugely privileged to be here, hugely inspired by all the Malawians I've met, and just to wish all the viewers out there the very best.
Thank you very much, FENELLA, and thank you for the call to us as Luntha TV, and we can really promise you that as Luntha, our motto is bringing wisdom to the viewers' homes, and we've done that consistently, and we'll continue doing that. And thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for coming through, despite your busy schedule. Dear viewers, that was Resident Representative for UNDP Malawi, Miss FENELLA Frost, on today's episode of Malawi's Development Partners Program. As you are aware, Malawi's Development Partners Program is a program where we bring in various guests like Miss Frost to inform you about more on how and who is helping our government to make sure that our lives are getting better, our kids are having jobs created, our kids have a brighter future, we are conserving the environment, among others. Until next time, I'm Kathy Matura, and goodbye for now.
The key to growth and development for every nation in the world is a better plan. Not just any plan, but a well-implemented one, and of course, development partners. Who are Malawi's development partners and what are they doing? To know more, tune into Malawi's Development Partners MDP with me, Kathy Matura, on Luntha TV.
Luntha Television, bringing wisdom into your home.
Luntha TV is now on Zuku Channel 51. You can get yourself a Zuku decoder from the Luntha TV offices in Area 2, Lilongwe, and from all the St.